Family, I'm live. Hope everyone is having a good weekend and things like that. Where I'm at, it's extremely cold in PA, so I'm just trying to, stay out of the cold, truth be told. Yeah, I ain't gonna be on here too long. I just wanted to tap in with the family real quick on my normal, Saturday live streams that I, put out. And yeah, we ain't gonna waste too much time. We're gonna get right into it, family. And like I said, I hope everyone is, having a good weekend, and staying safe. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe, family, and share the live stream. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, and let's get right into it, family. Something I want to speak about is, these Latino tethers, they very, hateful towards our FBA lineage. Now, tethers in general, but the Puerto Ricans, and Latinos in general, and the tethers in general, they're hateful towards our FBA lineage, and what really turned me on to this was the fight our brother Shakur Stevenson had. I think he identifies, truth be told, he's lost in the sauce, if you ask me, a little more so with his Puerto Rican lineage, you know what I mean? But his Puerto Rican lineage is through his father. His father was never in his life. He was raised by FBA, mother, and his FBA grandfather, showed him the ropes on the sweet science, and schooled him in boxing. His FBA grandfather was a FBA boxing legend, you know what I mean? But yeah, the Puerto Ricans trying to take credit for, him, and Puerto Ricans wasn't with him shooting in the gym. Puerto Ricans didn't attribute to his success. His success came out of foundational Black American society. Because if it was only Puerto Rican lineage, he would have lost that last fight he had. You know what I mean? He got that skill from FBA society. So yeah, they try to take credit for everything we do and produce. And I came across a Puerto Rican tether on my job I work with, and he got to talking about boxing, this, that, and the other. And a lot of those Latinos, they hate on our brother Floyd Mayweather too. He was trying to talk down upon Floyd Mayweather, oh, he cocky. And this all stems from, Floyd Mayweather knocked out a few of his Latino tethers, you know what I mean? Beat them. So, they mad and disgruntled about that, But I was like, if you the best in your craft, you got the right to, be proud about it. You got the right to be cocky if that's what you want to be, if you the best, you know what I mean? But it just goes to show you that Latinos, they got a lot of, resentment towards foundational Black Americans. They want all of our history and culture for themselves. And truth be told, a lot of Puerto Ricans, uh, feel entitled to, our history and legacy. This is why Fat Joe's tether ass, got up there and said that Puerto Ricans created hip hop with us 50-50 till we shut down that whole false narrative with the movie Microphone Check. And then the Latinos, I don't know if y'all remember, they was running around trying to claim some Juan Crow, trying to claim our FBA civil rights movement. They wasn't trying to fight no systematic racism, white supremacy. They was looking for white inclusion and to be included as white on paperwork. You know what I mean? Because they had things like LULAC, where the dude, Felix, I forget his name, he was, saying something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, but let the Negro fight his own battles. You know what I mean? That has nothing to do with Latinos, this, that, and the other. This is why I'm so glad we letting these individuals hold their own nuts with the deportation thing, because it don't concern us. You know what I mean? And the more, tethers we get out the paint, that's more better for us to get our, lineage-based justice claims. And, they take resources and aid that could be going to foundational Black Americans, but um, yeah, like the Latinos, they just feel entitled to, everything we produce in FBA society, and they're really like, they got a true vitriol and hate towards our people, tethered in general. But, I'm starting to notice it, like a lot, with these Latino tethers. This is why I chose to speak on it, you know what I mean? Because they got a lot of hate and, vitriol for our people, you know what I mean? Yeah, like with that Juan Crow, this, that, and the other. Now, the Shakur Stevenson brother, I feel, he's just a young brother. And he's a little bit confused. He's lost in the sauce, repping that Puerto Rican flag when he should be, repping FBA society, because the Latinos, the Puerto Ricans, they gonna turn their back on him. You know what I mean? They don't stand on no business. It's FBA that put him, where he's at. And he should be repping FBA society. But I ain't forcing nobody to be about FBAs, because our lineage is a beautiful lineage. If you don't want to, be about FBAs, the hell with it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just a lot of Latinos. I just wanted to, put that out there that, hate on FBA society, feel entitled to our legacy, was running around with the false narrative of Juan Crow and, just numerous things, they hate on us, you know what I mean? But moving right along, I just wanted to talk about that. Salute to the chat. I see my brother Reef down there. Black love. Salute to you, sister. Um, Salute to Cultural Media TV. Yeah, but moving right along, family. We got a white supremacist councilman in Florida, getting up at some kind of Congress meeting. He was throwing around the N-word with the hard ER. And, he said he was, just using that to, make a point, this, that, and the other. No, the hell he wasn't to me. He just wanted an excuse to say the N word with the hard ER, and he should be held accountable. You know what I mean? It's to my knowledge and understanding that they didn't even, like get him off of being a councilman. They should have kicked him out of that position. You know what I mean? Using that N word with the hard ER, because these folks, just looking for any excuse to practice anti-black racism, and he said it to where though he's in a safe, spot, you know what I mean? Because if it had been a real FBA brother or sister there, he would have got his teeth knocked out, throwing around that N word like that with the hard ER. But we going to get right into it, family. Fair use.
All new at 6, an El Portal Village Council.
Something else I want to add in there too, family. I notice a lot of, racist white supremacist activity, anti-black racism coming out of there down in Florida. You know what I mean? I got numerous videos on my channel. You could just go back and look at them of, anti-black racism, white supremacy coming out of Florida.
Council member is under fire for using the N-word twice.
Shout out to my brother Ron Ward.
Council member Anders Urbaum says he was quoting someone to describe where he thinks the country is heading. CBS News Miami's Morgan Reiner is your reporter inside El Portal City Hall with what the council member had to say.
Councilman Urbaum says he went on an unplanned and unscripted rant. He said he realized in real time what he was saying was offensive, but he did not want to stop. He says he wants people to understand that's the real way that others speak.
See, he didn't want to stop. He was fine practicing that anti-black racism. You know what I mean? These people got a lot of damn nerve, If there's FBAs down there in this particular area in Florida, they should be, pushing to get this guy, off of being a city councilman, because I think he's like on the left, the left wing. But, this is why I don't rock with the left wing or the right wing, because the left wing is just the quiet racists, that do their racism undercover. And the right wing is the vocal and, outspoken white supremacists that'll let you know what it is. You know what I mean? Because I just seen something to where though, Trump put up a racist video of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama depicting them as, monkeys. This is a bunch of nonsense. You know what I mean? This is why I don't vote. You know what I mean? And I ain't loyal to either party. If either of these parties say they got some tangibles, I'll vote for what's being given to FBA society. Don't get me wrong. If one party produces, I favor neither one over the other. Whatever one got something to produce for FBA society, that's the one I'll rock with. And we seriously need to contemplate, getting our own political party. You know what I mean? To where though we could push our needs and agendas and, we ain't being pulled in 100 different directions on things that absolutely don't serve us. But let's continue.
Do we have any last questions or comments before I ask for a motion to adjourn?
At the end of last week's planning and zoning meeting, El Portal Councilman Anders Urbaum wanted to bring up an issue he's seen in the community. Border Patrol agents stopping people.
It just seemed odd that a CPB officer was doing a traffic.
And also peace to my brother Black RU 365.
Stop.
At the end of his retelling of the traffic stop, he continued.
Guys, I don't know how to tell you this, so I'm just going to tell you it like this. I'm going to explain to you exactly why every white person in this country who voted for Trump is a racist piece of shit. I'm going to tell you that right now. How do you wink at it? How do you wink at it?
He keep on saying the N-word with the hard ER right then and there. If I was sitting there, I would have knocked his teeth out of his mouth. You know what I mean? He wouldn't have just been saying that all willy-nilly, He's saying it in the confines of a safe space. This is why he feels he can get away with that. You know what I mean?
God, please stop. All right, mother. I learned that from a 10-year-old son of a police detective in my hometown growing up.
And I don't even think they got him removed from being a city councilman. You know what I mean? He should be off of, whatever kind of position, it should be stripped away from him. You know what I mean? He should be held accountable for his anti-black racism. I don't give a damn how he tries to spin the narrative. Oh, I was just saying it to prove a point, this, that, and the other.
Father, a police detective, his best friend, another police detective. All right? My entire existence growing up, yeah, walk away. Walk away. Do it. Walk away.
Vice Mayor Martin responded.
I do understand that you're trying to make a point, but even in trying to make a point, I do think it is a grossly offensive.
I don't understand white folks, non-black people, using that N-word in any situation. You know what I mean? I don't even like Latinos using it, truth be told. I try not to use the word, but I can't speak for everybody, but if you want to use it, just use that amongst black society. You know what I mean? But under no set of circumstances should non-black people, whites, Latinos be running around using that N-word. You know what I mean? And I don't even like, tethers using the N-word because they do it, tethers, it makes me cringe, even melanated tethers using that word because most of the time they use it from a standpoint of white supremacy as well,
Word to be mentioned in any context, I find it offensive. So I'll personalize it for you that even though I understand that you're trying to make a statement, I actually don't understand it, but it appears as though you're trying to make a statement. And in addition to that, I share some of those feelings about what is going on in the greater world. I do say that as
he ain't even really giving him no pushback. I would have, chewed into his ass. You know what I mean? He ain't getting away with that. Not on my watch, and trying to spin the narrative that he was just trying to make a point.
a white man, you should not be saying the N-word in any context. And I take great offense to it. And I think that you owe us an apology.
Damn, an apology. There need to be real world consequences and repercussions, for this kind of thing. We got to start holding, folks accountable, truth be told. The same way when you speak something wrong to the Jewish community, they make sure they tax your ass. They don't support you in any way, shape, or form. And they all on code to where, though, they're going to collectively remove support from you. You know what I mean?
I will certainly apologize. I mean no offense to anyone other than white Christians who voted for Trump.
Resident Jeff Schwartz was out walking today in El Portal. We showed him the meeting video. He said that apology didn't help.
I don't see how that makes it any better. I mean, if you're offending, it doesn't matter what group of folks we're talking about, we all need to be kinder and trying to not be offensive.
Resident Timothy Silliman was mowing his lawn when we showed him the video. He said the councilman lost the message as soon as he repeatedly used the N-word.
I don't want to hear what he's attempting to say.
Yeah, I'm under the same, mindset as this brother. Once you use the N-word with the hard ER, even if you did have some good talking points, all of that, nonsense goes out the window, when you try to, practice anti-black racism, that all went out the window. So I don't give a damn if he had some good talking points. I don't want to hear it at that point.
Once he start using language like that, I'll walk away. I'll put some earplugs in my ears.
We caught up with Councilman Urban Monday afternoon.
Okay, I acknowledge that the words that I used were go beyond just anger or offense, but for that.
He's a white supremacist. I don't get caught up into the whole right wing, left wing, white supremacy. He's a left wing though, but they both birds of a feather. You know what I mean? And they both practice anti-black racism. The left only want to call out racism when they could put it on, Donald Trump, and they practice white supremacy too, and they practice benign neglect, not mentioning, foundational Black Americans in favor of, trying to make everything about, minority coalitions, people of color, immigrants, this way they don't got to address our specific needs as a lineage, and try to dump it all off on, America was collectively built by some damn immigrants. No, the hell it wasn't. America was built by our FBA ancestors who never were compensated. You know what I mean? So the left wing, practices a lot of, benign neglect and, trying to, keep things vague and generic. They don't want us to identify, as our lineage, because when we start identifying as a lineage, that got demands that go along with that. And they know that. So the name of the game is just to keep us some generic, undefined group to where though we going along with minority coalitions, because that's how they like everything to be vague and generic. And damn that, you know what I mean? They both practice anti-black racism.
Many people, it is outright traumatic.
And while he believes his use of the N-word was the
Shout out to my sister, Ambitions of a Rider, and thanks for the donation, sister. I appreciate that.
most effective way to drive the message home at the moment, he says he doesn't plan to use the word again.
I will absolutely stand behind every single thing I said as a political statement.
He's still saying he's standing behind it. You know what I mean? And he's just trying to say a political statement to, get you off, your square and pivot to think that no anti-black racism was practiced. He's a damn white supremacist, if you ask me. I don't give a damn how he tries to spin the narrative.
100%.
El Portal Councilman Winter said he personally felt attacked during the meeting as a white Christian.
We're in an election year, so I'm not sure if it's the right time to resign or just play the whole thing out. But that would be something for the attorney and the mayor to decide whether it should be done. I do not feel comfortable having him on the dais.
The vice mayor added after the meeting that Urbom owes the entire village an apology. There is another council meeting tomorrow evening at 7. We will let you know if this is addressed. In El Portal, Morgan Reiner, CBS News, Miami.
Yeah, family, I just wanted to bring that to the family's attention. But like I said, I ain't going to be on here too long. What's that damn pop-up? Like I said, I ain't going to be on here too long. But the main point of, this broadcast, we're going to start to get into it right now because as many of y'all know, I covered the segment ABC News did on the FBA Inventors for Black History Month. These damn, foolish, damn people that went back and, backpedaled and removed the whole, segment of the FBA Inventors from their YouTube channel. Then I went over to ABC News, the website, it ain't even there. You know what I mean? They probably caught heat and backlash from the damn Democrats, white supremacists, and the tethers, because like I said, the name of the game is just to keep us, vague and generic to where though we ain't defining our lineage as foundational Black Americans, so we're easily, open for people to come in and exploit us, so we go along with the whole program. And then damn that, because they want to make it to where though, like Shabuzi said, immigrants built America, which is a false narrative. And this is the kind of messaging that they like out there, to keep things vague and generic to where though, they practice benign neglect on us, you know what I mean? Because when they acknowledge our lineage as foundational Black Americans, they know that demands justice and, accountability, you know what I mean? And that's why I ain't never, shying away from, I don't give a damn who likes it or not, representing my FBA lineage because, our lineage is a beautiful lineage. We done, several fly things over here in America, responsible for building America, and people want to try to distort that and reframe, what our ancestors did over here in America. You know what I mean? And that's probably why, in my book and opinion, that they took it down because they caught backlash, from, because basically we already legitimized, we don't need mainstream to legitimize our lineage. We've already done legitimized our lineage, but in the mainstream legitimizing the lineage, on a mainstream news broadcast, they don't want this kind of narrative out there. And, the Democrats, they control most of what goes on in the entertainment, the media, the news, this, that, and the other, you know what I mean? So they don't want that to get out there, you know what I mean? Because it demands accountability, so I just think it was a numerous amount of things, like the tethers complaining maybe that our lineage was being broadcast worldwide and they took it down. This is why I'm glad that I covered it on my channel. So it's solidified. It's already in stone. But it just got me so mad that they, push these false narratives about, immigrants building America, Black and brown unity, which there never was. That was something put out there to ensure that us foundational Black Americans get the short end of the stick. They'll push all this nonsense to where as though, they ain't giving out the real, true originators, innovators, and creators. And that's us foundational Black Americans. They try to distort that, imagery because that demands accountability. Whenever they use and talk about Black history, they try to use it to where those civil rights was all inclusive, to where it's including everybody, this, that, and the other, just for the optics, But damn the optics, we demand accountability and we demand justice for the atrocities that was committed against our FBA lineage, and that's something that we ain't gonna let up on, you know what I mean? But it's just a damn shame that ABC News want to backpedal, from putting out that broadcast, you know what I mean? Because it was a beautiful broadcast. The sister broke down. She's over there on TikTok. She did a beautiful job of breaking down FBA inventors, how we invented the modern day toilet, this, that, and the third, and they want to take it down in favor of, you know, going along with their agendas, you know what I mean? And I believe at this point in time, you know, the writing is on the wall. It's blatant erasure. They trying to erase our FBA lineage. This is why it's crucial and of great importance that we stand on lineage business. We delineate from folks. You know what I mean? Because we're the only people that's expected to be about everybody while pushing our needs to the back burner. And damn that, we supposed to be all inclusive. You know, look out for everybody's needs and interests. You know, at the jeopardy of our own. You know, we ain't supposed to never, you know, acknowledge our needs and interests and damn that narrative. You know what I mean? We pushing for FBA lineage-based agendas, and anyone that don't like it, you know, to hell with you. You know what I mean? Because yeah, we just supposed to, you know, look out for other people, be out here advocating this, that, and the third, and while we get nothing in return, they get all the damn benefits. That's what they want us to be. You know what I mean? So yeah, damn that, and it's a damn shame that ABC want to backpedal off of that. You know what I mean? They have a problem with pushing the truth, but they'll push false narratives, you know, just like this video I'm about to show y'all here, family. This video really got me, you know, mad. It got me hot because down there in Miami, they pushing a false narrative. You know, they got a panel of nothing but tethers on this news broadcast I'm about to pull up, claiming that Bohemians built Miami, Florida, which is a bunch of nonsense. It couldn't be further from the truth. You know, they trying to tether our Black History Month. And as far as I'm concerned, when you talk about Black history, that's FBA. You know, that's our history month. It should be called Foundational Black American History Month because our ancestors created it. Carter G. Woodson, you know, which was a foundational Black American, you know, and we got the most points on the board. You know what I mean? And if so much, you know, Bohemians built Miami, why the hell couldn't people from the Bahamas, you know, and the Caribbean build up their homeland? Why their homeland still look like third world countries? I want you to ask yourself that question, family. Peace to my sister Donna C. Here you go, family.
A couple of prompts in, and
yeah, family, this video really got me hot though. They're gonna sit up here and talk about Bohemians and Caribbeans, you know, created Miami, this, that, and the third. You know, foundational Black Americans were already in Florida before, you know, immigrant laws were even put into effect. We was already down there, you know, cleaning out the swamps, you know, draining the swamps, you know, clearing mangroves. You had our FBA brother, Dana Dorsey, who was the first Black millionaire in Florida. You know what I mean? So this is just a false narrative. And it goes to show you that they removed our foundational Black American inventor story from ABC News, but they'll push false narratives like, you know, the damn Bohemians built Miami, Florida, which couldn't be further from the truth. The Bohemians came to something that was already built. They just added on, like they try to say that the Chinese built the railroads over here, which is a false narrative. Our FBA ancestors did it. You know, people just, you know, added on. We already had things moving and shaking. You know what I mean? And it was FBAs down there in Miami that even fought to get that incorporated and to be known as Miami, Florida. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just a bunch of nonsense going on where they trying to distort real FBA history, you know, and Black History Month is FBA history as far as I'm concerned. Nobody else is entitled to it. If they could have did all this damn fly stuff, why didn't they do it in their homeland? Their homeland still look like third world countries. So these folks ain't built a damn thing. They came to something and pulled up a plate, you know, at a dinner table that was already laid. We already had the plates, the forks, and the spoons out. You know, all they did was pull up a seat. But let's get into it, family. Fair use. Hold on, I ain't got the volume up.
Well, today on Miami Life, a discussion of Black history, South Florida style. In our diverse community, many people identify as Afro-Caribbean. We asked a panel how they reconcile those roots with...
And family, truth be told, when the algorithm fed me this story, I was just, you know, on YouTube, just looking through videos. But when they said Afro-Caribbeans in Miami, I already knew it was going to be a bunch of nonsense and BS, you know, trying to reframe, FBA history. You know what I mean? Because immigrants didn't build a damn thing in America. That was our FBA ancestors, who shed blood, sweat, and tears and never were compensated. They came to something that was already built, moving and shaking.
African American life and history. For Jamaican-born attorney Marlon Hill, the connection Caribbean-born blacks have to African American history was settled a long time ago.
They ain't got no damn connection to our history, and they look a little bit outdated, this news segment in general. They keep trying to refer to us as African American. We done buried and retired that term, and laid it to rest, so they keep trying to, refer to us as African Americans. They look outdated, and there ain't no connection between, FBA history and the Caribbean. We always were standalone, ride or die, we got it out the mud, and other people, might have came over afterwards, but we were the first ones moving and shaking. You know what I mean? We were getting things facilitated and started. Just because somebody did some little minor, minute things, that don't mean that they built a damn thing. You know what I mean? We already had things moving and shaking and was laying the infrastructure, building the railroads and things like that, clearing the swamps down there in Florida, and other people just, came to something that was already moving and shaking, and it was, such a small, minute thing, it ain't even significant.
We wouldn't have the city of Miami without black votes from the Bahamas, so we've been
Listen to that lie.
and interconnected.
You wouldn't have the city of Miami without black folks from the Bahamas. A damn bold-faced lie he's sitting up there telling. But ain't no real FBA brothers and sisters on that panel to check that nonsense, They said the one lady up there was African American, but I'm thinking that it's a full panel of tethers, you know what I mean? A full tethered out panel, you know what I mean? Ain't nobody up there to give no real FBA pushback.
Connected for generations since post-emancipation. So that question to me is long gone. The ship has sailed.
Hill was joined on our panel by Bacardi Jackson, an African American who heads the ACLU in Florida, and CBS Miami's Tanya Francois, a Haitian American who recalls tough times growing up in Miami. I asked if she ever felt ostracized by other black Miamians.
I didn't feel ostracized. I was ostracized. Absolutely. We were talked about smell, hair, growing up.
Oh, pity me, cry me a river. FBAs, we roast. I got roasted by other FBAs. You know what I mean? That's just what we do in FBA culture, telling jokes, you got to get that tightens you to go deal with the real world. That tightens you up to deal with systematic white supremacy, So, yeah, she just on there, trying to say, oh, I was picked on, I was called African booty scratcher, this, that, and the other, you know what I mean? And these people hold grudges their whole lives because FBAs was joking around with them and playing with them. FBAs, if we joke around and play with you, that means we like you. You know what I mean? We got some affinity towards you. We don't joke around and play with people, that we don't, give a damn about, So, yeah, she just pushing a false narrative. And these people, these damn tethers come over here and hold grudges for, that a lifelong, from something that they was picked on in elementary school over. You know what I mean?
We were poor, that we were from a poor country, which was a complete contradiction to when I actually went and spent my summers in Haiti.
Francois says she found ways to...
She said Haiti was built up, they were poor, this, that, and the other. If Haiti is all of that and popping, why ain't you back in Haiti? Why you sitting over here up under foundational black Americans?
Embrace African American life.
I attended an HBCU. I attended Bethune-Cookman University. I'm a member of a black sorority. So I embrace it through lived life.
Yeah, you're welcome. We foundational black Americans, we made it to where though people can go to HBCUs, and we fought, and absorbed all of the blows, that was coming down from white supremacist society so people could come over here. You know what I mean? And, the way I feel about it, the ancestors, they tried to do the best they could do, at the time, but I don't feel we should have been fighting for all of these damn, foreign fleeing tethers to come over here, but what we thought we had was people that was going to be on code with us based off of melanin. But, these damn tethers to get on code with white supremacists before they will us, they'll sell us up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. But yeah, I think we should have been solely focused back, in the civil rights, and things like that. We should have been focused on, building black wealth, putting businesses in the community, and just worried about FBA society. We shouldn't have been fighting for all of these damn agendas that never served us, for people that, don't reciprocate that same energy towards us.
here.
Jackson, the child of a civil rights activist, is well versed on the role Caribbean-born blacks played in America's civil rights movement.
There were
Caribbean-born blacks didn't play no damn role in FBA created, civil rights movement. You know what I mean? That was our civil rights movement. You might have had a small, minute people, a few people here and there, but that's not significant. You know what I mean? Just like when folks say that immigrants built America, this, that, and the third. We already had the infrastructure laid. Just because you came to something and pulled up a plate or, pulled out a knife when the table was already set, that don't mean a damn thing. You know what I mean? We already had the infrastructure and things like that laid. We was already fighting and standing on truth to power.
Certainly so many influences in the civil rights movement. I think of Harry Belafonte and people like that who, Caribbean descent.
Stokely Carmichael.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Stokely Carmichael, when the heat got too hot for him to deal with, he bounced. He got his ass up out of here.
So there's so many people who have all made this movement in this country and share this common.
What they want to do, family, is they want us foundational Black Americans to share our history, culture, and our legacy with everyone else, to make our lineage all inclusive. And damn that, you know what I mean? We standing on lineage business. These other people got their cultures and, they got their identities, Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, they got their lineages, and they just expect us to share our accomplishments and our history and legacy with other people and our lineage with other people. Damn that, you know what I mean? We got the right to self-identify and delineate, and I say that we keep on delineating from these folks who are trying to, cosplay and tether on to Black history and our movements and all of this stuff. It's a bunch of foolishness going on. And this is what created the environment for Shabuzi to get up there and say that some damn immigrants, created America. No damn immigrant created America. And ask yourself this question, family. If immigrants, built America, rather, why the hell ain't they building up their homeland? Their homelands still look like third world countries. You know what I mean? And that's the real.
Character of resistance and self-reliance and self-determination.
So is there a Black history disconnect between Caribbean blacks and African Americans? Our panel.
As far as I'm concerned, Black history got to be reframed as FBA history, and ain't nobody entitled to that. They ain't got no points on the board. They ain't done nothing fly. You know what I mean? They might have done something historically here and there, but we got all the points on the board and consistent points on the board, and we created Black History Month. So yeah, they just trying to tether on the Black History Month and make it to where though they dilute our lineage and make Black history all inclusive. You know what I mean? To make it to where though they trying to push this false narrative that people from the Bahamas, built Miami, Florida. And that's a bunch of nonsense. You have, like I said, brother Dana Dorsey down there, who was the first Black millionaire coming out of Florida.
Analysts say no, but believe the next generation should learn how the roots of African American history run through island nations from Cuba all the way to Trinidad.
I grew up in Memphis, so I didn't grow up in South Florida, but my children have grown up here in South Florida, and I can tell you that they are very much infused within Caribbean culture and community.
I'm getting tether vibes off this woman. They say African American, but I think she's a tether. I think she's full tether. Everybody on this panel is tethers. This is why, they pushing this nonsense and horse crap, because if it was a real FBA brother or sister up there, this nonsense would have got checked and debunked.
Community, and in fact, both my children's godmothers are both Jamaican.
Here in Black History Month, it's really about how do we view our Blackness and how our kids understand that their Blackness is not just rooted in America, it's rooted globally. And the more that they can see.
Foundational Black Americans, our Blackness is rooted in America. That was forged over here on American soil through resistance, fighting white supremacy, injustice, and building America. You know what I mean? And we created all the music genres, everything that's popping in America, for the good is that way because foundational Black Americans work to make it so. He's just coming with that tether mindset and trying to push a tether narrative so they can find themselves in our struggle. And damn that.
They will see themselves, they will appreciate all the things that the world has to offer as it relates to Blackness.
And you will see more of that discussion in our Black History Month special, Saturday, February 28th at 7:30 p.m.
I just wanted to show y'all this nonsense and BS, family. That whole segment right there was a bunch of nonsense, lies, and BS, and they'll push a narrative like this, which is a false narrative that, people from the Bahamas, built Miami, Florida, you know, and when we tell the real for real, you know, regarding our FBA history, like that sister was on ABC News telling about our FBA inventions, you know, we invented mostly everything going on over here in America. You know, they want to block and delete that video. That's a bunch of nonsense. It just shows you how the blatant, like they want to erase FBA culture. You know, they want to erase us. The name of the game is, you know, to get, you know, our lineage erased, you know, and we can't have that. We must keep on delineating, stand on code, looking out for FBA brothers and sisters, and standing on lineage business, regardless of who likes it, because people don't cry and be whining and complaining about things that ain't powerful and making a statement. You know what I mean? Because that would, you know, just be ludicrous. You know, why would you do that? You know, so we making a statement by delineating, staying on code, acknowledging our FBA lineage, because they want us to be vague, generic Africans, to where though we're supposed to share our history, culture, and legacy with everyone. So that undermines our justice claim in the form of cash reparations. You know what I mean? You know, so they want to dilute that claim too. Also, that's another aspect of that. You know, but I just wanted to bring this to the family. You know what I mean? Of how they sitting up here lying on CBS Miami, you know, and then they gonna take down that ABC News segment when that sister was up there, you know, doing a beautiful job of speaking, you know, on our FBA inventors, you know. So I ain't gonna be on here too long, family. Matter of fact, I'm about to get out of here. I just wanted to come on, you know, real quick and tap in with the family and show y'all that nonsense. It really had me heated, you know. And if you're new to the channel, family, make sure you like and subscribe. You know, I'm gonna get off of here, family. And remember to be aware out there, because to be aware is to be alive. Peace.